Okay. I guess I'm on. What's up, y'all? Once again, it's your boy Mass here with another video. Um, Poet extraordinaire, outside of the box thinker. I just wanted to share some quick thoughts with you guys, real quick. Um, the past few videos that I made, I've been on my way to work. This current video, I'm actually on my way from work. I just pulled over on the side, share some thoughts with you guys. And before I actually get into the topic, let me just say, an outside of the box thinker. I consider myself to be someone who thinks outside of the box. And what does that mean exactly? Because a lot of people have YouTube channels. I'm kind of new to this YouTube thing, however, I like to bring something different or come from a different angle that everybody else is coming from. And I would like to think that I'm an outside of the box thinker. My perspective is always unique. And to be an outside of the box thinker, basically you just have to be someone who thinks outside of the box. People always say, like there's two sides to a story. I never actually agreed with that statement, just because, you know what? There's multiple sides to a story. There can be 3 sides to a story, there can be 4 sides to a story. Whatever angle you choose to dissect and you choose to tell the story, that's a side, that's an angle. But unfortunately we live in an era, where, and not even an era, because people been doing this. People sometimes can be mentally lazy. People only see things in black and white, or wrong or right. And there's so much nuance, so much layers, so much different contexts and dimensions, to life. And I like to take different angles, not necessarily to be a contrarian or somebody who's just taking a different angle for the purpose of taking a different angle. I like to take a different angle because I like to challenge people to think outside of the box and to see things differently. There's always an alternative way to look at life. Like, for instance, you know how people always say historically, that ancient old phrase, when you see a hourglass and it's like half empty and it's half full, and people will always ask you, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? And my unique perspective and my answer to that question is, sometimes the glass can be a quarter full or a quarter empty. It can be 3/4 filled or 3/4 empty. And when you really break it down, a real unique perspective is, the glass is technically 100% full. So even if I'm looking at an hourglass and it's half empty and half full, technically it's 100% full, because it's made of glass, and glass is made of sand. So the same material that's inside of the hourglass, which is sand, the glass is made of that same material, because glass isn't nothing but liquid sand. When you melt sand at a certain degree, it turns into glass. So technically, theoretically, the glass is 100% full. And I don't mean to get too scientific or too scientific or too technical, even though I'm in my bag right now, but that's just a unique way to think of it, and life is filled with things like that. If you really break it down and you really see things from different angles, you'll see that there's many different sides to it. There's many different layers to life and things like that. With that said, let me get into the topic of hand. So basically, the topic at hand is about mental health. Mental health. So as it relates to mental health, it's nothing bad that you can say about mental health. However, I'm not really on the bandwagon. So there's a lot of people going around, shouting mental health, mental health. Every time I listen to these shows, a radio show or a TV show, I'm seeing somebody basically complaining about their mental health, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I feel as though sometimes a lot of things is driven by politics. You know, politics drives a lot of things, and a lot of things is propaganda, and there's like a greater and a deeper agenda. And this isn't really no conspiracy theory or nothing like that, but it's just that everybody's preaching. Even I was watching the Breakfast Club the other day, an interview, and Charlemagne the God, I think he has like 2 books proclaiming mental health and mental health awareness and mental health this, everything, mental health, mental health, mental health. Everybody is always screaming mental health, mental health, mental health awareness month, mental health awareness week. Everybody's always screaming out mental health. And while I'm an advocate, and there's nothing wrong with having good mental health, and I am an advocate of having good mental health, I'm not on that mental health bandwagon. And I'm just being honest, y'all. I'm not on that mental health bandwagon because I believe that a lot of it is propaganda, you know? So I believe that a lot of things that we see in society is a reflection of politics. And I do believe that politics plays a role in sculpting and shaping the minds of society. You know, and sometimes there's a huge agenda by it. And it's like the politicians, they use the media and they use celebrities to get their point across. You know, so this whole mental health movement thing that's going on, like I said, I am an advocate for having good mental health. However, I'm not on board with it, and I do think that it's a little bit overbearing. And here's why. Let me explain why, you know, because some people might be listening and like, well, what's bad about having good mental health? Let me tell you. There's nothing bad about it, but I just believe that it's overblown. And here is why I say that. I say that because life is filled with challenges. And I believe that people have poor mental health. People have poor mental health because they are mentally poor. And the reason why they are mentally poor, one of the reasons, because people don't know how to obtain mental health. And you obtain mental health by being strong mentally. And people are weak mentally. I believe that people are weak mentally because we are mentally lazy as a society, especially in today's society. People are mentally lazy. They don't like to be mentally challenged. The mind, believe it or not, is a muscle. And how do you make muscles strong? You make muscles strong by exercising. So in order to improve your mental health, the true way to improve your mental health, you have to do mental exercise. So how do you do mental exercise? You do mental exercises by programming and conditioning your mind to think a certain way. It starts with repetition. You tell yourself over and over again. When you fall down, instead of crying, you have to condition your mind and program your mind to, I'm going to get back up. You know, when there's a challenge, you teach yourself and you condition your mind. I'm gonna overcome these hurdles. So in order to overcome being mentally weak, you have to be mentally strong. And like I said, the mind itself is a muscle, and people don't like to engage in mental exercise. Unfortunately, we live in an era, especially when you look at social media, everybody is being coddled. Everybody is being coddled, and people are overly sensitive, and it's like we are overly protective. It's like everyone has an umbrella and a layer of protection over people, and it's like you can't do that. You can't be overly sensitive. It's like if you say to somebody, hey, you need to lose some weight, all of a sudden you're body shaming or you're fat shaming. If you say, hey man up, all of a sudden you're homophobic. If you even talk to a girl, a woman or a female, and you say, hey, you're beautiful, you're sexy, all of a sudden you're sexist. And you can't do that. We can't do that as a society. We can't do that where every single little thing, you know, it's a complaint. Soon as you get a paper cut, it's like, ow, my mental health. You can't always keep running and screaming mental health, mental health, mental health. You can't do that because we're teaching people to be mentally weak. Life is filled with challenges and hurdles and obstacles. And in order to overcome them, it is necessary for you to be mentally strong. It is necessary. It is a necessary component for you to train your mind to not, every time you're faced with objection, every time you're faced with rejection, every time you're faced with hurdles and obstacles and any kind of adversity, all of a sudden you're running and you're, oh, my mental health, or the bully picked on me. We live in a society where everybody is just so hypersensitive. And I believe that that level of sensitivity, you know, weakens your mental capacity. It weakens your mental health, you know, especially during the era of social media with all these social media platforms. And it's amazing how people can sit there and go to the movies and watch a horrible graphic movie in which 20 people dies, just guns blazing and people shooting. Yeah, but yet the moment someone mention a comment on Instagram or on Facebook and say, hey, you need to lose a little weight, all of a sudden you body shaming. And oh my God, my mental health. Every time you criticize somebody, you know, they're like, my mental health. And that's why, even though, like I said, I'm an advocate for mental health. However, I believe I'm not on that bandwagon. I'm not on that bandwagon. You know, I'm not, because I believe, like, first of all, it used to be a peace of mind. But then they done changed the whole agenda to, like, oh, my mental health. And I believe that, you know, there's nuances to it. There's nuances to it, because what people do is sometimes people use words, you know, as a defense mechanism, you know, to avoid accountability. You know, so instead of saying, hey, man up, you're like, oh, my mental health, you're attacking me. And we can't treat today's society like that. You know, we can't treat people like, you can't be overly sensitive, you know, to people. So it's like, sometimes you need to spank your kids. Sometimes you need to be bullied. And I'm not saying you beat people up, and, you know, but sometimes you need challenge. Life is filled with challenges, and it is those challenges. It is overcoming those challenges, overcoming those fears, overcoming those hurdles, overcoming rejection, overcoming failure. That is what makes you mentally strong. It's overcoming that, you know? And we can't treat people. We can't just shelter them and overly protect them to the point where it's like, you know what? They're afraid to challenge. And that's why the suicide rate, unfortunately, is so high, you know, so high now in today's time. Unfortunately, that's why it's so high, because people are not mentally strong. The moment any kind of challenge or rejection, any challenge, rejection, or trials and tribulation, anything that comes their way, they don't know how to deal with it. And so, you know, unfortunately, they think that the only way out is suicide. But no, you have to condition your mind to be mentally strong, because life is filled with challenges. Life has always been filled with challenges. It has always been filled with challenges. And you have to be mentally strong. And in order to be mentally strong, like I said, you have to do mental exercise. And that's basically programming and conditioning your mind, you know, to be strong. The best way to be mentally strong is to not be mentally weak. And in order to not be mentally weak, you have to program yourself to overcome those odds whenever you're faced with challenges and any kind of adversity. So yeah, you know what? So while I am an advocate and a proponent of mental health, I'm not on that bandwagon. I'm not on the bandwagon because, like I said, I believe that, you know, in life, the challenges. It is those challenges that make us. When we think about our ancestors of the past and just some of those hurdles and those obstacles that they had to endure, the reason why they are the heroes and they're the giants is because of those obstacles. And we can't just take all of the obstacles and the hurdles away, and the moment somebody gets a paper cut, it's like, ow, ow, ow. You know what? You can't do that. You have to teach people. We have to teach the youth, teach the younger generation in order to be strong. And there's a balance to it. That's all I'm saying. There's a balance to it. Can't be overly sensitive. Can't be overly sensitive. There's a balance to it. And we need those challenges because that is what makes us. It is what shapes us. So with that said, I'm signing off.